Good morning and welcome to episode 3 of Under Development. I'm Claire from Grasshopper Property, and in this podcast we want to get underneath the bonnet of behind the scenes of the property development world. And I want to talk to developers, I want to talk to project managers, I want to talk to lawyers, I want to talk to estate agents, and just get a little bit more of the raw side of property development. Don't want to see the kind of fluffy that's success. I want to understand the bits that are really chaotic, not working so well. When you get the delays, you get the no's from your lawyers that say, no, you can't do this, or the agent tells you that your property actually isn't worth what you hope it would be worth. So far I've managed to talk to Cheryl, who astonishingly raised £1.4 million investor money in 4 months. Then we spoke to Tom, who told us that education is absolutely key to kind of avoid mistakes in property. It took him 5 years to realise that, but he really stressed how important that is. And then today we're going to talk about how the developer and the estate agent relationship is really key for this kind of development. So today I am joined, thank you very much, Jamie, for taking time out, by Jamie from Bucks Property and All Counties Property Group, who's an entrepreneur. Didn't start in property, so we will kind of explore that a little bit and how that's important in now the business that he's in. So we will just go straight into it, Jamie. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So where did you start? It wasn't in property, was it?
No, I spent 16 years as a golf professional. Quit that probably, 10 years ago, I guess, and then went straight into a estate agency after that. So my background in estate agency is I went straight into new homes rather than what we would call resi sales. So yeah, been in new homes since then.
And what took you from golf into estate agency?
I think I'd just been playing golf for so long that I kind of lost the love for it. I was relatively good quite young, and so I spent a lot of my kind of late childhood in playing golf, pretty much full time, and just fancied a change really, and an opportunity came up, and yeah, here I am.
And then you set up your own independent.
Yeah, so I worked
estate
in the, as I said, in the new homes world for a corporate. I was a regional director for a company called LSL, who locally own Davis Tate and J&P in Buckinghamshire. And then, 2 years ago, give or take, left there and set up my own estate agency.
And then did you take the developers with you that you were working with, or some
don't
of the developers?
tell my old employers, but yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I think for me, as you alluded to in your intro, the importance of the relationship between the estate agent and the developer is it shouldn't be underestimated. And I think I kind of felt my relationship with the developer, or I suppose the developer's relationship with the estate agent, was actually with me rather than the brand. And when I left, I was lucky enough that a lot of the developers came with me.
And that's key, right? Because where we're working together for you to come and sell our units, if you didn't know how we were working and vice versa, it would be a lot more difficult, because you've got different agents rocking up at different times and what have you.
I think every developer works differently. I've worked with some large national developers right the way through to first timers. They all work very differently. They all have different needs. I think most estate agents don't understand how to work with developers. Some developers will like to have their egos massaged a bit, and I suppose you kind of have to adapt how you work as an estate agent to meet the needs of the developer, and everyone's different. So it's all about relationships, I suppose, as well.
So as a newbie, what should I look out for?
As a developer with an estate agent, I think selling a new home is different to selling a residential home. For me, it's always been around getting to know the product, so your properties properly. And I think with a new home specialist, they're more likely to understand that. You need to spend a bit more time getting to. So if I'm selling your house, right, your personal house, most high street estate agents probably wouldn't really get to know that house. The guy that comes to do the valuation probably won't be the one doing the viewings, probably won't be doing the negotiating when they sell it. Probably doesn't need to know your house, and therefore they've probably got weekend staff that come in and just open the door, show people around. Whereas I think the developments that I still work with on now, I probably know more about those sites than the developers themselves. And I think that's key to being able to sell them.
So you do the end-to-end essentially then? Yeah,
I do now, and the guys that work for us will be doing the same. But I think, if you apply that to a high street agency who have got a new homes department, then probably that new homes department manager will be the one, getting to know your site.
Okay. So then, as you know, we're looking at Bridge Street as the kind of first engagement. Yep. And we're telling you that they're going to be luxury apartments. We're going to do everything that they better be. That we're going to do everything, at a real quality level. If you start to see something that's not quite what you expected and what we promised, how do you manage that message and that relationship?
I think it depends who it is, and the relationship you have with the developer. Not most, but many of the developers I work with and continue to work with, I've known for a long time. So it almost becomes a kind of consultancy as well. So they'll come to me and ask me about specification and what kitchens they should put in, and that's all obviously relevant to the price point that you're hoping to achieve. Sometimes I'm told that they will be one development in particular. We had a conversation before they'd bought it. Is that it was a large conversion into 50 odd apartments, and without boring you too much, they were competing really from day one with another development not far away, just a few miles away, that were achieving £500 a square foot. This site, slightly lesser location, I would think, and to achieve £500 per square foot, they would have needed to be absolutely perfect. We were told they would be absolutely perfect, and they weren't. So the £500 per square foot was never achievable, and consequently they didn't sell many.
But we're always going to have some competition, because there's not always just going to be our development happening. Loads happening in Whitney. What is it that we need to do? Because we are being told that actually we could break the seal of Bridge Street, bearing in mind what we're trying to achieve there. But if we have got competition down the road that might be doing something a bit more luxurious, something different, what have we got to do differently?
Good question. I think it's specification needs to hit the target market. So if the specification, for example, you're trying to break those ceiling prices, and the specification isn't there, it's not going to happen. Likewise, if you're looking for £300 a square foot and you start putting quartz in, then you're probably not going to, earn as much money out of it as you could do. So the specification has to match the end price. Marketing is important in getting those early sales. I mean, it's different, but because your scheme, isn't a huge scheme. If we were talking about a scheme with 200 flats, then it's a completely different game. But with your kind of size of development, the marketing is going to be important from day one. The pre-launch marketing is important as well. Trying to create that buzz around the development, and it needs to sell it. It needs to have a story. Your site does have a story, and you're doing a good job of promoting that story already. That needs to be continued throughout. So if, for example, you were to deliver them and all those original features had gone, then your story's going to fail, and therefore you might struggle. But hopefully they won't all be gone.
They won't all be gone. We can't remove them, so they will
no,
continue.
they will stay. So marketing's important, and a good product, essentially, a good product that hits the spot that you're trying to hit, I suppose, is the key.
Okay. And then we're kind of asking you to help sell off plan so that we can kind of exit out of this scheme as soon as possible at the end. Does that cause you a challenge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In what way?
In my experience, selling off, and I think it's different if you're looking at the overseas markets. They'll tend to be more, used to buying off plan, although albeit with discounts usually. But I think if you're looking for an owner occupier to buy off plan, if you were to take that to, I don't know, a local Taylor Wimpey site or one of the big boys, then there's normally a product of the same house type that they can walk in and see,
like a traditional show home.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're looking at your flats with everyone being different, then totally off plan is very, very difficult at that point. I think I've said to you, if you can get someone into that space, whether or not it's just the shell that's plastered, possibly even before the kitchen's gone in or anything else has gone in, if you could actually get them in there, then that's probably when you're going to start making sales.
Okay.
Up until that point, it's going to be very, very difficult unless they're overseas buyers.
So that's the instruction that we've given the builder. As you come into the property, it's the first one that's on the left-hand side, so that you can start to bring your buyers into that, and then we don't disrupt the rest of it and don't have to worry about health and safety and stepping over everything. So even at a shell perspective, like you say, it's plastered, we've got the walls in so they can see the space. Yeah, that can help.
Yeah, 100%. I think, historically for me, as long as the moment you can get people into that plot, then you've got half a chance of selling it. Until they step into it and it's all on paper, it's going to be difficult.
And at what point should we then start to talk to you about the spec to be able to achieve the price points that we've all agreed? Is that now, or is that a little bit further in when you can also see the space?
Yeah, I think so. I think that will really be led by your timescales rather than ours. I would hope that what should happen is, as you start to think about the specification, you should engage with us as to what you should be putting in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we spoke about it a little bit earlier. I'm all about forecasting, so I know when my monies are coming in and at what point they drop. So do you rely on that? So I might be saying to you, right, we can start selling from September. We think it's going to be about 12 months. So therefore, September next year, you've got all your money coming in of your percentage that we've agreed. You've sold the properties, off you go.
2%, right?
2%, right. Yeah. I haven't got the money, whatever other developer you're talking to, but, we'll see. And then we might be a year late.
Mm-hmm.
How does that really then impact you as a business when you think you've got monies coming in, but actually we're quite late?
I think estate agency is such that you can never really forecast beyond a certain point, in so much that, those, and especially with developers, if we've done everything we can from a marketing point of view, so everything marketing looks great and we've agreed what we're going to be doing, we've delivered on that, and then we're not getting any interest or we're not selling anything, then there'll come a point where you might look to retain those units and therefore we don't get paid anyway, right? So, in the case of your scheme, we probably will struggle to forecast anything from that until it literally till it drops in.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's difficult to forecast in our game a little bit because there's so many variables.
So that's going to be a challenge for somebody like me that needs that kind of forecast then, isn't it? For our own benefit of selling the properties or even renting them out when we could have this potential delay or the exit's not quite what I want it to be. So that's something that I need to take on and try and think, right, how do I manage that situation? So then based on that exit then, so yeah, we've said we want to go and sell, but say there's a struggle because we don't know what the market's going to do in 15 months' time.
Yeah.
And we then look to retain and rent out. Obviously, we're working in partnerships. We need to work with you to then have some sort of agreement that we put in place that you go and find the tenants and you do block management as well, don't you? So for those audience that doesn't understand what block management is, what would that be?
Block management would be looking after the blocks and blocks of flats generally, and looking after the service charge accounts and instructing contractors, when things go wrong, making sure the leaseholders are happy in effect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then if
that's the
I'm
polite
yeah,
answer.
that's a polite answer. And then if we're asking you to do the rentals, there'd be like management fees that would work with you. That's how you, as an estate agent, would then make your money. Is that right? If we weren't going down the selling route.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as you know, for us, we don't currently offer a letting service. It's something that we're hoping to launch in the next couple of months. But yeah, I mean, it's when you've worked in the new homes world for so long, there aren't many developers that would be as loyal, possibly, as you might think they are. Or as loyal as you might be. I think it can be very, very cutthroat. So unless we perform, we're out the door and you'll bring in another agent. Sometimes that's fair. Some agents aren't particularly good. Other agents, they've done everything they've said they'll do and the market isn't there or the product's not right or whatever. But estate agency is cutthroat, right? So you can't ever rely on an instruction, really, unless you're tied in for the full duration of the sales process. It can terminate and you'll be out in 2 weeks. So you have to perform. An estate agent has to perform, otherwise they won't be making any money.
So you must need a pipeline then, because you've got to be quite resilient, right? If it's that cutthroat, how do you make sure that you may kind of lose a developer because you're not being able to perform, but you're just carrying on? Is that in your pipeline? Is that how that's
So touch
generated?
wood, I've not lost a developer yet.
Okay.
But it could happen, right? So you're always aware that it could happen. And so you know, it depends on the size of the estate agency. For me, you know, there'll be times when I turn houses down, individual houses down, or developments down if I don't think the capacity's there for it. Sometimes I've turned developments down if I don't like the product or if I don't like the developer, or I'm quite lucky in that I can be a bit more choosy with who I work with, I guess. But yeah, it's just a numbers game, you know. You know, it's very difficult. I've got a developer a national developer that I'm close with, who might have a development of 500 homes somewhere, which could be worth an awful lot of money to us. But you can't ever rely on it because they could change tack tomorrow and decide to rent them all. So you just have to have that, as you say, the pipeline in place so that you can adapt to whatever is thrown at you. And because we do residential sales as well as new home sales, it's, you know, as long as we've got enough in the pipeline, whatever that might be, then we can.
But that's how you build up that resilience. I mean, I don't know how you do it, because like I've talked to you about a couple of sites, we're getting excited about them, then we've got some delays on a highways planning issue.
Yeah.
And then it's just like you keep nodding your head in the right way just to kind of, you know,
until it lands,
keep this warm. But
it's the same for you though.
From
a developer's point of view, we talked about it again earlier on, didn't we? There's so many sites that look attractive at a level, but if that level, your level, isn't what the vendor wants, then you're not going to be able to buy it. And so it's just property, wherever you are in property, whether you're selling your house or trying to buy a piece of land or trying to sell the houses that you build, it's always you know, it can change day to day.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit more about Bucks. So you were in the corporate estate agency world, and then Bucks came along. What generated that?
I guess like most people who set their own business, you kind of think, why am I making money for someone else when I could be making it for myself? I think, you know, as we said, the relationship with the developer was always with me rather than with the estate agency, and you know, it just felt like the natural thing to do next, really.
And you said, I think when we went to a viewing in, I'm trying to remember where it was, Kidlington, somewhere around there. You were saying to the seller that your corporate world, they'd probably make about £400, whereas out of that particular sale, if it went through, you can make £8,000. So that makes quite a lot of difference, does it, in the quality of delivery and service?
I think so. So the traditional model of a estate agency, you know, high street based office with 4, 6, 8 people working in it, they'll tend to be set up with a branch manager, valuations manager, negotiators. sales progression, so on and so on. Whereas Bucks Property, when I first launched, was just me, so I did all of that myself. If I'm the branch manager of a local estate agency and I sell, I don't know, a £800,000 house, that might be worth 400 quid to me as the manager, and probably by the time it gets down to the negotiator who's actually doing the viewing, possibly less than 100 quid.
Quite astonishing, really, when you look
Yeah,
at that, isn't it?
and so, you know, and the rest of it's kept by the business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In my model, when you're working for yourself or the self-employed route, then, you know, that full fee will be coming to the person who's dealing with the whole thing, right? So again, we said earlier on, if someone asked me if I can do a viewing at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night, then as long as the vendor's happy, then yeah, of course I can.
Do it, yeah.
'Cause it's worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was only worth 75 quid to me, I probably
Yeah.
wouldn't bother.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that the more personal estate agent is likely to give a better service. Not always, but yeah, in general, I would say.
And then where did All Counties Property Group come from?
So I set up Bucks Property really with the idea that it could expand into other counties quite easily. And then, you know, the rise of the self-employed agent is huge at the moment. I think it's grown 500% over the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years or something like that. But still occupies such a small part of the national picture. So yeah, we launched All Counties Property Group as a self-employed brokerage model, in effect, with the idea of having a national network of estate agencies working under county brands. So we'll have a Bucks Property, and potentially shortly we'll have an Essex Property and a Hertfordshire Property, and so on, with self-employed agents working under that brand.
And then what does All Counties? So if I'm an agent that joins you in my territory, what does All Counties give me?
So we give you essentially everything you'll need to start your own estate agency business. So anything from the CRM to Rightmove and on the market, to incoming leads that we'll give out to you for valuations, that kind of thing. Prospecting tools. We do all the sales progression ourselves. The lettings business is the next piece of the puzzle, so the individual agents will be able to plug into that. Compliance, contracting, branding.
That's quite an offering, isn't it? I mean, that's massive, because it means they can spend more time out there.
The idea is that they can just go and do what they're good at, which is win the business and sell it, hand it over to us centrally, and we'll do the rest. They then pay us a percentage of their fee, so there's no monthly costs, no setup costs, no franchising costs, just a percentage of their fee when they sell. And as you know, we've got an agent in your part of the world, and he will benefit from your scheme, so he'll be selling that and obviously earning from that. So if we can work with developers to secure sites and then hand them to the agents in that area, then that also gives them a kickstart to building their own business.
And they work under your brand, Bucks, at the moment.
Yeah, so at the moment we've only got Bucks as a brand, but we've just won a decent site in Epping, which means we can open up into Essex. So there's costs involved, obviously, opening into new counties. So Rightmove subscriptions they're very expensive. So we need to make sure that we're the plan really was for year one, which is 2026, just to grow in Bucks. But as opportunities arise and good agents kind of arise, then we will look at expanding outside of that. We have done already.
That's a positive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this Epping one is massive. It could be a really good.
It's a great opportunity for someone in that, a good agent in that part of the world to come on board with, you know, a share of 50 homes to sell from day one, which is worth a lot of money.
And then you've managed to be qualified as an SEIS backed business.
Yes,
which is quite key.
So SEIS funding is something that the government have brought in, which gives investors or potential investors tax breaks. Take some independent advice, but yeah. So we are backed by HMRC in terms of advanced assurance, which means our business qualifies for that type of funding.
Yeah, I mean that's good though, because people do go and have a look at SEIS, government funding or government backing for investment. It shows that the government believes in the business model 'Cause
Yeah,
otherwise
we
they
had to
wouldn't give you
submit
that
business
certification, would
plans.
they?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the business has to be a startup, has to be, and the money has to be used for certain things. So
Yeah.
we couldn't just go on holiday.
Absolutely. Go and buy your Ferrari
No,
or
exactly.
your yacht.
No, exactly. And we have to
Yeah.
justify how we'll spend any income, any finance that does come in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting. The investment thing is something that my business partner Ben is keen to try and secure. We probably could fund it ourselves, but we want to grow quite aggressively.
Yeah.
And therefore the investment would help that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the early signs are you're meeting your goals, probably
Yeah,
if not
100%. Yeah.
overachieving, really.
Yeah.
So I think it's well worth having a look into. Okay, so what are your last words for me as a newbie developer coming into this world?
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Too late for that. We're in.
Too late. Yeah.
Too late. Coming into this world and with all the learnings that you've had, all the stresses with relationships, what probably the top 3 things that I should really focus on and do well?
I think top 3. It's actually in order. I won't give them an order. I would say that the first thing you need to do is build up a good relationship with a decent estate agent that knows what they're doing. So
I need to find one of those then.
Yeah,
that knows what they're doing.
To find one of those. That's really important because you can lean on them for things like specification and marketing and all those kind of things from day one, and that's the key. So that would be one thing I'd say. Secondly, I would say that the specification of your product's going to be really important. Making sure that the finish is relevant to your target market. So have that in mind before you do anything else. Breaking ceiling prices is always something that developers want to do, but it can't continue exponentially, can it? So make sure that you're buying in the right area at the right price to enable you to hit the targets that you need to hit. And build product relevant to that space. Thirdly, I suppose it's as you'll know and your listeners will know, buying the right piece of land is difficult, and you're a big one into education, and I think that's probably important as well. Certainly for people starting out, I think it's key.
Okay, good. Well, thank you, Jamie, for coming along. I know you're very busy, so it's quite a lot of time out. However, you did squeeze a meeting in this morning. Yeah, so we managed to get that in. It's really interesting to understand just how, as a new developer that Grasshopper Property is, how we need to really maintain those relationships. So I think this is really key. Bucks Property, All Counties Property Group are one to look out for. Please go and have a look at the government investment scheme, because it's actually quite phenomenal. And investment this way can really help this business. So thank you very much. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.